Good morning, St. Andrew family. Welcome to our Sunday morning online worship service. I'm Justin Bullis, and it is my privilege to welcome you here today from the St. Andrew Sanctuary. I am grateful, as always, to share this sacred online space with you, where we are all invited, included, and valued as vital and beloved members of our broader worshiping community. St. Andrew is proud to be an open, affirming, inclusive congregation that welcomes all people into the full life and communion of our church. This includes saints and sinners, believers and skeptics, the lost and the found, the wanderers and the wanderers, families of all shapes and sizes, and people from every point along life's journey. No matter who you are or where you've been, no matter what you believe or even if you believe anything at all, you are welcome here and you belong here. Please take a moment to visit gostandrew.com/sign-in to let us know that you're here and to share some information about yourself. We'd love to know from where or from when you're joining us, or if you have any prayer requests or questions about our church. If you would like to explore deeper engagement with the work God is doing in and through the St. Andrew community, you can email us directly at connect@gostandrew.com. We'd love to hear from you. Also, be sure to check out the announcement slides at the beginning and end of this video to see some upcoming events and opportunities to get more involved. You can also visit the events page on our website to see an updated events calendar. Lastly, if you would like to contribute a financial gift to the work and ministry of St. Andrew, you can visit gostandrew.com/give or text St. Andrew to 28950. And now let's listen together as Reverend Amy brings us the latest sermon in our current sermon series, What Does the Lord Require of You? Justice, Kindness, and Humility for the Common Good.
With what shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before God on high? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, or tens of thousands of rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has told you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justice and love kindness and walk humbly with your God.
When you hear the word kindness, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Is it a kindergarten classroom and kids learning to share? Or maybe it's the proud mom sporting free mom hugs shirts at Pride. Or maybe you think of an ad campaign, hashtag make kindness the norm, or bumper stickers or hashtags inviting all of humanity to practice random acts of kindness. I'm a fan of kindness, but kindness kind of seems, well, soft, like Care Bears and Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers taught children and adults that kindness is the way. All true, and there's a little more to it. Kindness, in fact, I thought was in the Girl Scout Promise until I looked it up again. At church, in Girl Scouts, and at home, throughout my childhood, I mostly thought of kindness as being nice, helping others. Kindness, after all, was kind of obvious and an outcome of being a good person and an expectation of a person of faith. Last week in our sermon series on this text in Micah, Rev Mark talked about doing justice, or mishpat. Today, we're going to look at the same text, but instead focus on loving kindness, or hesed. Hesed is a difficult word to translate into English because there's a range of meanings for hesed, and there is not one word synonymous with its meaning. Hesed can imply kindness, goodness, and faithfulness, yet none of those terms can truly convey the significance and complexity of the word. In different scriptural translations of the text, you will even come across substitutions for hesed, which include loving kindness and mercy, Most of all, this was done thanks to Miles Coverdale, who, when translating the first translation of the Bible in 1535, created and added a modifier to the text in Micah and translated the term hesed from to love kindness to a hyphenated and more active practice of loving kindness. Now, in our reading today from the New Revised Standard Version, the prophet Micah is compelling God's people to love hesed, to love kindness. Hesed, when used by Micah, doesn't mean just any kind of kindness. There's some grit to this kind of hesed kindness. Hesed is extra. It's what's underneath our actions, beyond nice. Kindness is a radical requirement alongside of justice and walking humbly with God. In general, I find that kindness comes easy to most people. It doesn't require much effort to hold open the door, to let someone merge into your lane of traffic, to take soup to a friend, or to even greet a stranger. These are all good things. But the hesed and kindness reference in Micah is different. It requires effort and intention. One of the ways I've heard hesed described is like this. To give someone a ride when they have no car is kindness. To forgive them for stealing your car and then offer them a job comes closer to hesed. Hesed is often out of the way, inconvenient, and sometimes even costly with no direct benefit or expectation. Hesed is more than a warm and fuzzy feeling. It's kindness expressed through loving action. Catholic theologian and philosopher Janet Sosowski breaks down the etymology of the word kindness. She describes kindness as a strong virtue rather than a weak one. In Middle English, she writes, the words kind and kin were the same. And according to her, to be kind means to be kin. If she's right, then practicing kindness requires, at minimum, a willingness to see the image of God in every person, to actively commit to love one's neighbor as oneself. Hesed is a steep step beyond tolerating another and even civility or politeness. The Hesed version of loving kindness is transformative, revealing the responsibilities we have to one another, our interconnectedness in the family of God. At the heart of it all, Hesed is interrelated to values of mercy, kindness, justice, and humility. Micah makes it clear that Hesed and Mishpah must function together. We can do justice only by loving kindness. The doing must flow from the loving. You may remember the name Keisha Thomas, or if not her name, you may recall the image. In June 1996, a branch of the Ku Klux Klan announced plans to hold a rally in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Several people in the Ann Arbor area planned to hold an alternate rally against the Ku Klux Klan's presence that day. Thomas showed up to be a body and a voice in opposition to the KKK gathering in her own hometown. Then, in a moment, everything changed. As the crowd gathered and events escalated, Thomas was one of several people gathered in an area that had been fenced off and set aside for an alternate rally. At one point, a leader in the alternate rally over the megaphone stated that there was a Klansman in their area. All eyes turned to Albert McKill Jr., a middle-aged white male wearing a t-shirt depicting the Confederate flag with an SS tattoo. The man began to run but was knocked down, kicked, and beaten with placards. Thomas, who was at the time 18 years old and physically close, shielded the man from the crowd and shouted for the attackers to stop. Thomas is credited as saying that you can't beat goodness into a person. Years later, Keisha Thomas, her bravery and action led to a relationship with McNeil's young adult son and his 12-year-old sister, who both thanked her for saving their father, even though their father may not have done the same for her, Keisha Thomas. In response to those who argued that the man deserved the beating and even more, commentator Leonard Pitts Jr. offered this short reflection in the Miami Herald. That some in Ann Arbor have been heard grumbling that Keisha Thomas should have left the man to his own fate only speaks of how far they have drifted from their own humanity and of the crying need to get back to it. Keisha's choice was to affirm what they had lost. Keisha's choice was human. Keisha's choice was hope. I'd say that Keisha's choice was hesed, a kindness that goes beyond. In the book, The Little White Bird by J.M. Barrie, J.M. Barrie writes, "Shall we make a new rule in life, always to try to be a little kinder than is necessary?" My friends, this is the point Micah is making, the essence of hesed, a commitment and a requirement to be kinder than necessary. Can you imagine if even 1/3 of us gathered here or online right now made a commitment that wherever we are, whenever we can, we will be a presence for loving kindness in the world and be kinder than necessary? We might not have the experience of Keisha Thomas, but we could start with where we are. Maybe it involves what we post online, or making the extra effort to engage with some who staunchly disagree with our beliefs, politically or spiritually. Hesed is radical, loving kindness, more than being nice, but a transforming kindness. Hesed and loving kindness is a choice every day and every moment. So how do we get to that place of loving kindness? Where do we even start? When I think of loving kindness, I think of the loving kindness prayer practice in Buddhism. Buddhism identifies 4 limitless qualities: loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. In Buddhism, it is understood that these 4 qualities are limitless and increase with our practice and use. Father Richard Rohr writes that as Christians, we share these limitless qualities. And he makes clear that these qualities are, in fact, already within us. That's right. Even when it's hard to hear or see in some folks, each person is made in the image of God and has a place within them that's kind. There are many examples online of loving kindness meditations from across religious and spiritual traditions. I happen to like the one outlined by Tibetan Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron. She offers this practice for growing loving kindness within ourselves. I invite you to think about taking on a loving kindness meditation this week as your spiritual discipline or prayer practice. So, loving kindness. First, we set aside a quiet period and begin with the setting of an intention and posture of openness. Next, we recognize the place of loving kindness within ourselves. It's in there. Then we honor it and awake it and thank it. From there, we draw upon the source of loving kindness already in ourselves and bring to mind someone that we love very much. We send then loving kindness to that person and bless them. The next step is that we awaken that love and kindness for someone not in our inner circle, but a bit further removed. Someone whom we admire or appreciate. We then send loving kindness to that individual. From there, we send loving kindness to someone with whom we feel neutral or indifferent. Maybe even to the person behind the counter at Starbucks this morning. We send that person a blessing. From there, we then think of someone who has harmed us, or someone we don't like or enjoy being around. We bless them and send them to loving kindness. Personally, I find that takes a little bit longer. We end with gathering all these individuals in a circle of loving kindness, wrapping and holding them in compassion, and extending this love to expand and embrace all beings in the universe. And while it sounds like a linear process, I have found practicing the practice of loving kindness to be transformative. Focusing on loving kindness in our prayers and practice opens our heart to be a conduit for the loving kindness of God, the kindness that God shows humanity, and how we might live out Hesed in our world. Hesed is in fact all around us, all the time, in every moment. Some acts of loving kindness are made visible, like Keisha Thomas saving the life of a man who devoted his life to hating her. Some acts of Hesed may feel small in comparison, but they are still cumulative in creating the beloved community and furthering the kingdom of God bit by bit in ways that we can't even imagine. Perhaps the case that Micah was trying to make is that loving kindness is transformative, beneficial, and essential to our survival. Recent research suggests what spiritual traditions have taught for millennia, namely that kindness and compassion are essential for our own well-being and for the thriving and survival of our species. In The Compassionate Instinct, Dr. Keltner compiles findings from a wide range of studies in neuroscience and psychology that indicate that loving kindness not only exemplifies a good and moral way to live, but carries great emotional and physical health benefits for individuals, families, and entire communities. He goes on to say that behaviors like compassion and kindness are actually conducive to human survival and essential to human flourishing. University of Oxford anthropologist Oliver Curry, research director at Kind Lab, and yes, that's an actual place where they study kindness and the impact of loving kindness. He argues that kindness seems to be universal, essentially hardwired into us, though it can be impacted by trauma and experience. And that under the right circumstances, we all benefit from kindness. So my friends, Hesed is not only essential, but it's beneficial to all. This brings us back to Micah. Micah prophesied to a divided nation that empty rituals will get them nowhere. Hesed is more than just showing up at church. It's what we do with the fact that we've been here and heard what God requires. God has told you, O mortal, what is good and what the Lord requires of you: to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with your God. So what does Hesed look like in your life? What is the hard thing, but perhaps the right thing that ultimately you need to say to yourself or another to further loving kindness? What radical act of Hesed can you take on in the world, which is more than necessary? Takeaways for today. God's requirement to love kindness involves more than being nice. Hesed is not just a feeling, but loving action, and sometimes it's costly. And kindness is transformative, beneficial, and essential to survival and well-being. Go, my friends. Live a life of loving kindness. Thanks be to God.
Good morning. I have the privilege and the opportunity to meet with so many incredible individuals and organizations that are living out St. Andrew's vision. It's especially meaningful when opportunities arise where we as a community can serve, walk alongside, and lift these organizations with our prayers, presence, and gifts. We have been doing this for nearly a year with Heavy Hands, Heavy Hearts Community Center. Let's hear more about this amazing organization from its founders.
Hello, I'm Lamumba Heavy Hands Sayers, founder of Heavy Hands, Heavy Hearts Community Center in Aurora. Heavy Hands, Heavy Hearts provides a positive place for youth and adults to improve their lives and participate in a safe community. Having spent several decades as a professional mixed martial artist, I found the need in our community for youth and their families to experience the self-discipline, direction, and positive choices that can be made when hard work and opportunity join together for good. I opened the Heavy Hands, Heavy Hearts Community Center with the goal of creating a community space where people could be trained physically and mentally to improve their lives. An average day at the Heavy Hands, Heavy Hearts means you'll see youth choosing to walk through the doors for conversation and connections. Some come to train their bodies in our boxing gym, others just to talk, hang out, and be heard. The boxing gym can teach the life skills that directly connect to real life work and family. We are deeply rooted in our community. Recently, in response to the rise in gang and gun violence, we hosted a Gloves Up, Guns Down community event. Youth were invited to participate in restorative conversation or hang out and watch amateur mixed martial artists in our safe space. It's not just about boxing. Through the support services physical training offered, we show youth there's a brighter path available to them. When you learn self-love, then self-respect follows. We walk together sometimes even with community partners helping youth see the positive people and choices available to them. Our community center is full. We share space and work alongside Stargirls Empowerment led by Shalonda and her team.
Hello friends, I'm Shalonda Palmer, founder of Stargirls Empowerment. Stargirls strive to be a safe space for girls and young women, providing a variety of mental and behavioral health services, personal development, and educational opportunities. Our goal is to mentor, empower, and ultimately transform the lives of girls. We believe our girls are stars. There is a sisterhood in Stargirls. We work together providing mentoring and peer support. Our mentors work one-on-one to be that guiding light and safe support needed for each participant, meeting them where they are and addressing their unique needs. Stargirls mentorships come in many shapes and sizes. Some mentors are focused on career exploration to prepare them for school and beyond, and others on life skills like building self-esteem. Our vision is to equip girls and young adult women with self-confidence and the belief that they are bright light in the room and in the world. We provide the tools needed to navigate life's transitions, challenges, and traumatic experiences. As you heard Lamumba share, Heavy Hands, Heavy Hearts Community Center is busy. An average day at the Center for Stargirls means support groups, one-on-one counseling sessions, or educational activities. Last week, we hosted a painting party for moms and daughters. Our goal was connection and building resilient relationships.
We're thankful for the Big Serve, the group of volunteers who invested countless days and time to make Heavy Hands, Heavy Hearts the right space for our community. Many youth pitched in during the Big Serve.
After the St. Andrew Big Serve team cleaned, painted, and refreshed our community room, the gym, and the bathrooms, a group of Stargirls youth continued to renovate by painting shelves and organizing the spaces.
So you don't box, but you're interested in hearing more about Heavy Hands, Heavy Hearts. Please check out our website or connect with us on Facebook.
Big Serve at Heavy Hands, Heavy Hearts was a big labor of love, and so many servant hearts made that happen. In addition to this, many of you helped with the back-to-school drive held over the summer and Thanksgiving last year. Thank you all. We are once again partnering for Thanksgiving meals, and I hope you can join us. You can help by donating food and or giving of your time on Thanksgiving morning to assemble and deliver meals. For more information, please visit our website, gostandrew.com/outreach, or email me at outreach@gostandrew.com.
And now, as you return to the rhythms and routines of your busy lives this week, I leave you with this benediction from Mike Kaiser at voxvenier.com. Go today with gentleness in your heart and mercy and kindness on your lips. Strive for wholeness through connection, acknowledging the pain and the beauty that you see in others as the same that you experience. Be a community that builds bridges, restores sight, binds wounds, forgives trespasses, and loves generously in the same way that God has with you. May the Spirit of God show you the way to empathy that will make us whole again as a people, united by our common need for God and for each other. We pray this in the name of the loving Creator, Jesus the Incarnate, and the guiding Spirit. Amen.